What's up YouTube, Dal here from Zephyr Wargames, and today I am bringing you an update finally to Dark Magician. That's right, my most favourite deck around, and I've finally been able to update it, combining both branded with buy seals, but still maintaining the core heart of Dark Magician and making it as competitively viable as possible. With all of that out of the way, please smash that like button, hit that notification bell and subscribe so you don't miss out on any more upcoming content. With that out of the way, let's dive head first into this Dark Magician profile. Starting off with the Dark Magician cards, we are playing 2 Dark Magician alongside 3 Souls and 3 Rods, and then the 1 Timaeus Dragon, accompanied by 2 Illusion of Chaos and 2 Preparation of Rites. Now, if you really wanted to, you could put Preparation up to 3. I would personally put Preparation up to 3 before putting Illusion up to 3, purely because the additional preparations can still be used and get you the other copies of Illusion, and can also be discarded for draw fodder. Another card you can very easily add in is Saravas, because that will allow you to protect your cards from being targeted, but that obviously comes down to specific of the environment you're playing with. It also comes down to, if you have Draw and Lockbird running around, then maybe Preparation of Rites isn't ideal for you, and that's when you want to go 3 Illusion and 2 Preparations. But for me, this kind of ratio for Dark Magicians just works out perfectly well, and I wouldn't really want to change much about it. Obviously, Rod is your main starter. It's pretty much your only starter, apart from the Albaz. It's what you're going to want to be normal summoning. You're going to be wanting to search out your components, and that is obviously one of the routes that can get you into your Timaeus Dragon, which will ultimately lead you into a Dragoon as well. The other Dark Magician cards we are playing is 2 Soul Servant, the 1 Secrets, the 1 Circle, and the 1 Eternal Soul. Now, I'll explain these as we go. So, with the Soul Servant, I'm no longer playing Pot of Prosperity, but I do actually advise, if you have Pot of Prosperity, to consider playing it in this build, or actually play it in this build. Just because, again, Prosperity, if you're going first, you're not really worried about the half damage kind of backfall from it. You've got a lot of flex space in the extra deck, and just being able to dig for a power card. So if you're trying to dig for example, the Bicycle Lubellion, or you're trying to dig for Rod, you're trying to dig for Souls, you're trying to dig for your Branded Fusion, you've just got so many different power cards you want to be digging for. However, in this version, the reason that I'm not playing it is because I'm not playing as many of the 1-card power cards I was in previous builds. So I was playing like Red Eyes Fusion, Nadir Servant, all 1 cards that would ultimately lead to a very tricky situation for my opponent to deal with. Whereas with this version, I've actually got a lot more components to kind of balance the ability to play through my opponent's turn, as well as playing during my turn. So I can set up a very decent go first board without the restriction of Red Eyes Fusion, and I can also set up a very powerful go second board to be able to pull my opponent's board apart and continue to keep making plays and going further forward from there. Circle, Eternal Soul, and Secrets. Secrets, in my opinion, is probably the best of those 3 right now. It's very rare that you're going to be using Circle in order to kind of stack the deck and benefit from it, because you're playing so few targets. Like, literally, the only targets that Circle can add is if you reveal Servant, Secrets, Eternal Soul, or Dark Magician. Like, it's just very minimal of what you can actually do with it. However, what Circle does give you the capabilities of is it does allow you to look at the top 3 cards, and that's where I really like the draw effect of Soul Servant, is because it lets you look at the top 3 cards and you go, oh, okay, so I've revealed a Bicycle Lubellion, I've revealed a Magician's Rod, and I've revealed an Eye of Timaeus. I've already normal summoned the Rod to get to the Circle, I've already got the Soul Servant to banish, I actually want to get to the Lubellion. So that's when you can then banish the Soul Servant and draw the Lubellion. And I think that's what's really cool about Circle, but I just don't think it's strong enough to interpret playing more of it. On top of that as well, the same kind of combo can be said with the Eternal Soul. Now, if you were to play the field spell, if you were to play something like Bond between teacher and students, well, there's so many different variants, that's when you can start considering more circles or making Circle more consistent. But we're now in a format, sadly, where the target banish is not as effective as it once was when it first came out, and the Excavating 3, because it only lets you add a spell or trap or Dark Magician specifically to your hand, it is a little bit more restricted. Illusion of Chaos is still incredibly powerful, and in my opinion, I actually think Illusion of Chaos is probably Circle in a sense, like upgraded or just power crept, and yeah, that's where it is. So that's pretty much it for the Dark Magician lineup. Obviously, it does take up the majority of the deck, which is why I still declare this deck to be a Dark Magician focused deck. But this will kind of give you an option. And the best thing about a version like this is if you don't have access to the buy seals, because they are quite expensive, you go full branded. If you do have access to the buy seals, this is how you can kind of balance it around as well. Now, before I show you the buy seals, I'll show you the generic spells that kind of help out this side of the deck as well. And you'll see how it filters into the branded side as well. So we do play 1 Terraforming, 1 Necro Valley, and 1 Secret Village. So you've kind of got the ability to cover all areas of the meta right now. So if you're going first, you get to Secret Village. Secret Village plus Dragoon is nearly unbreakable. And what I mean by that is you'll still have technically 3 more cards to be playing around with. And especially if you use Branded Fusion, you would have been able to push even further. But the idea behind this is Secret Village means that your opponent cannot droplet you, talent you, dark ruler you, anything like that. They cannot do it. So they will very, very struggle to break a board when most decks right now are playing at least a 25% plus spell ratio. Obviously, something like Dark Worlds will be able to go, I don't really care about that, I'm going to keep going. They won't be able to activate gates or talents or even their fusion spell yet, but they will have ways to kind of out it. That's where Necro Valley comes in, because Necro Valley is insanely powerful against certain decks, especially tier element Ishizus and everything like that. The flip side is that Necro Valley can be used going both first and going second, especially with Ishizu tier wanting to play just as much during your turn as they do during their own turn. It is a mini engine that can completely be cut out, entirely up to you if you want to or not. I think it's really good. Going first, locking them out under a Secret Village is really important, really powerful. That being said, on the other side of the coin as well, you could swap these out and go for something like a Gozen. You can go for droplets. You can go for something that is a bit more effective depending on your local environment. I've then got 2 Fusion Deployment. Now the reason Fusion Deployment is actually really important in this deck is because it utilises not only getting Dark Magician from the deck, but it can also get Fallen of Albaz from the deck. And the reason it's so important of getting Fallen of Albaz from the deck is because you special summon out of Fallen of Albaz with Fusion Deployment, discard a card, you can contact fuse your opponent's board, which is really, really important and really, really powerful, especially if they've already flooded like Bystials on the board. You just go, cool, yoink. Keeping in mind that you can only use your 1 monster, which is going to be your Albaz, but you do have loads of options in the extra deck that I'll show you later on that can hit generic cards, and then it can also hit the specific dragon cards. It also helps you get into a Mirror Jade play as well, so there's a lot of different options. The final 2 generic spells I've got is 2 Triple Tactic Talents. This is just a card that I feel, you know, if I'm not playing Prosperity, I need the ability of going first, going second. Yes, it does rely on my opponent to activate a hand trap, but that's where I kind of want them to go, okay, a normal summon Rod, and they go, Veiler. And I'll go, right, okay, cool. You think I'm playing Dark Magician, I'm going to activate talents, I'm going to look at your hand, I'm going to see what you've got. Oh, you've got an Ash Blossom there? Let's get rid of that Ash Blossom. I also know all the remaining 3 cards you have in your hand. I can now activate Branded Fusion freely and not even need to worry. Vice versa can be done as well, and that's what I think it makes this deck really, really cool, is in a normal branded matchup, sometimes if they get hit on an Ash Blossom on Branded Fusion, they kind of shrivel a little bit and go, all right, okay, I can't do a lot. Whereas if I get ashed on a Branded Fusion in this deck, I can then go, okay, cool, normal summon Rod, and then I go down the route of being able to get into a Dragoon that way. So that's it for the generic spells that kind of bridge the 2 together. Now, the reason that you're bridging the 2 together is because you are rocking and rolling, of course, triple Branded Fusion alongside your double Fallen of Albaz. So, like I said, the utility of this actually coming out of the deck with Fusion Deployment is really, really cool. And when we get the new cards as well that start listing Cartesia from the extra deck and everything else, playing a Dark Magician Dogmatica branded build could be absolutely insane. And I can't wait to see it, because the brandeds themselves start playing a lot of cards means that you just need to be playing one-off power cards. You don't need to be maxing out on freeze of everything. And that's a really nice balance. For the Bystials, I'm still playing 2 Lubellion. I still think it's a really kind of cool card, and the reason that I like it so much is because it does lead you to Beast and Regained. Now, obviously, Beast and Regained are very important and very powerful, because that's how you can start recycling stuff off of your Albion. You get draws off of it, and then the Beast and the Regained just put on so much pressure to your opponent. It's really nice to have a trap card that is searchable, that can recycle the Regained. And the best kind of synergy between the 2 that I really, really like in this deck is Magician Souls, send Regained, draw a card, end phase, Beast resets the Regained. Like, if you went, for example, if you went Magician Souls, summon out the Magician Souls, banish a card, Regained puts that banished card back to the bottom of the deck, draw 1 card. Cool. Magician Souls, send the Regained to the graveyard, draw 1 card. Activate Lubellion. Lubellion summons out Magnamut. Magnamut summons itself down to the board, banishing, let's say, the Dark Magician that you've put into the graveyard, whatnot. Doesn't make too much of a difference. You can then use Lubellion to send that Magnamut to the graveyard, summon itself back out. Then you can use the Lubellion to set the Beast. The Beast will then reset the Regained in the end phase. And if that wasn't enough, your Magnamut actually has the ability to search you out your Eye of Timaeus. So you've got more ways of getting to the Timaeus Dragon as well. And then for the rest of the Bystials, to keep it an exact 40 card deck, we are playing a 3, 2, and a 1. Pretty straightforward and simple on this. I feel this is like the minimum engine it can be. as the generic buy steals. Obviously, these 4 cards can be cut completely if you don't have them. The issue is that you're looking at 15, 15, 15, 15, 15, and like 5. So you're looking at a big chunk of money just on like 6 supers, which is ridiculous. But, you know, we wait for the Mega Team reprint. Moving on to the extra deck. So the extra deck is, you know, I love this extra deck. And it's mainly because of this bad boy right here. I really wish this card... I mean, I want a Dark Magician spell... or a Dark Magician card that just makes this so much easier. We need like a Red Eyes Fusion for Dark Magician that literally just says, after you activate this card, you cannot summon monsters except Dark Magicians. Like, even if it just said except spellcasters, yes, it would be slightly broken, but it'd be for the entire turn. You cannot activate this card if you summoned anything else. So like, but when you activate this card, you can't special summon any monsters apart from spellcasters. Like, something like that. It's just insane. But Dragoon, you know, Matt Daddy on this one. Dragon Knight's really, really funny because if your opponent is trying to get rid of your beast in order to kind of stop you looping back the regained, you just put a Dragon Knight on the board and it just goes, nope. And the best thing about this is there's future support coming out. So there's like a trap card that lets you fuse basically twice. So you activate something like, for example, Red Eyes Fusion, put Red Eyes and Dark Magician to the graveyard, you summon out a Dragoon, you then set the trap card, you pass your opponent's turn, you activate the trap card, you target the Dragoon, the Red Eyes and Dark Magician in the graveyard, and then the Red Eyes Fusion, and you basically fuse again. But the idea would be is that you can have the ability to basically fuse both of these into a turn, and then when you've got something like Spellcaster Secret Village, you play Gozens, everything like that, it just complete lockout. Love it. For the branded monsters, obviously 2 Mirror Jade, pretty standard on that one. 2 Lubellion. Now, obviously, the light targets for Lubellion is the Bysteel Lubellion in the deck. So it's rare that you'll probably go through 2. And this is where I was considering playing Dart the Dark Charmer, Celine, and Access Code. So they're definitely cards that I'd advise you to consider. Because it will give you an option that if you don't get to Branded Fusion and you don't get to a Fusion deployment, then you're not going to lock yourself into Fusions. You can actually unlock a couple of other different options for the deck as well. Then, pretty standard on this one too, Albion. I play the 1 Albalonatus as well. Just if my opponent is flooding their board with Bysteals, I can just contact fuse them all off, which is really cool. 1 Guardian Chimera. And before you guys go, what? How are you making Guardian Chimera in this deck? Well, ladies and gentlemen, please remember that if you play Dark Magician, you know exactly how to do this. So, the secret spell card, Secrets of Dark Magic, specifically reads, fusion summon a fusion monster from your extra deck using monster from your hand or field, but you must include Dark Magician or Dark Magician Girl. So, I can use Dark Magician from my hand, I can use Dark Magician from field. As long as I am using it, I can actually get into a Guardian Chimera. And Guardian Chimera, as we all know, the draw cards, the pop cards, everything you need in one card is so powerful. I then play 2 Predator Plants. So I play 1 Dracus Depelia and I play the 1 Typho. So the reason that Typho is actually really good in here is it requires 3 Dark Monsters on the field. How do we get into this? Well, again, very, very easy on this one. So, your Fallen of Albaz, if it's normal or special, except during damage state, discard 1 card. Fusion summon a fusion monster from your extra deck using monster on either field as material, including this card, but you cannot use other monsters you control as material. So, if my opponent has 2 dark monsters on the board, so let's say 1 Bysteel plus 1 of the tier element fusion monsters, let's say Collider Heart. Yes, Collider Heart's going to come back, but we'll deal with that later. If they've already come back because they tried to burn a board through. Activate fusion deployment, summon out Albaz and contact fuse gets me into this guy, and this guy has pretty much a walking, talking solemn warning, which is really kind of cool. You can change it up if you want to. You can go to a Starving Venom. That's entirely up to you. And the last 2 cards I've got is a Borreload Furious Dragon. So this is very simple. This is just Albaz plus 1 of your opponent's Dragon Monsters. 2 Dark Dragon Monsters, very easy. It has the ability to quick event to target 1 card your opponent controls and 1 card you control and destroy them both. It's just a generic fusion that you can play for a deck like this, especially if you are going to have locals where Bysteals are running around rampant. The last one we play is the Mysterion the Dragon Crown. Now this one is actually really kind of cool in the sense of the mixture between dragons and spellcasters. So for those of you that don't know what it does, it requires 1 spellcaster and 1 dragon. So again, if your opponent's playing spellcasters, your Albaz can be very, very important. It can't be used as fusion material, so they can't contact fuse it, they can't super poly it, anything like that. It loses 100 attack for each of your banished cards. If a monster uses its effect to special summon itself, or a monster or monsters with its same original type, you get to target 1 of those special summon monsters and banish that monster. Also, banish all monsters from the field with the same original type. How insane is that? So if your opponent brings back, for example, a Fiend monster, and they only control Fiends, you can completely clear their board off. Tenyis or Sword Souls with the Worms, you can clear that off. It's just so good. It's not a card you're going to be going into as consistently as possible, because when you look at the other boss monsters you have here, ideally your Dragoon and your Mirror Jade, everything else becomes second nature. But it's one of the ones where you've got the option to have it and to play it, so use it if you want to. If you don't, you've got a couple of flex spots here, like I said. So this is very easy, like an IP plus a Unicorn plus a BLS, or access code Celine, Dark the Dark Charmer, Mutt Dragon, not Mud Dragon, sorry. Cross Sheep is also a very good option in this. But again, you've got to keep in mind that as soon as you activate something like Fusion Deployment, or of course Branded Fusion, that's it. You are locked and done. You're not going to be able to go any further. So that's pretty much it for the video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it's given you a couple of ideas on your own particular build. Use this as a structure, adapt it whichever way you want to do. You can go more Bysteel focused, you can go more branded focused, or you can just expand the Dark Magician element itself. And one of my most personal favourite versions is of course Red Eyes Fusion, and just making it pure control. Obviously the downside is you are then focusing only on going first, whereas with a build like this you do have the balance of going first and second. If you don't have any questions at all, please put them in the comments down below. I would be more than happy to answer them for you, and I'll be more than happy to help you out with anything that you guys need in regards to your deck builds or just general inquiries about Dark Magician and how to make it as viable as possible. With all that out of the way, guys, thank you so much for watching. As absolutely always, stay safe and of course, happy dueling.